Welcome to InTouch, dedicated to real estate professionals worldwide. We're here to educate you, entertain you, and empower you in all facets of real estate. Are you ready for the latest news, trends, and market updates? Then it's time to get in touch. Welcome to today's show. We have a special guest with us, and that is Kathy Huang. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Andrew, and nice to be with you also, Gary.
Kathy finds herself in the eye of the storm, really and literally. She is our colleague in Florida, and she's going to share a little bit about what's going on as Hurricane Milton lands on the Florida coast. So, Kathy, first and foremost, we're so happy to know that you're safe and secure. And if you could just give us a little context that we can share with our audience about what's going on there in Florida.
Well, I was in Orlando, and yesterday early morning, I decided because of this meeting and several other meetings I have that are on Zoom, and that I needed internet, and some of my physical meetings got postponed for this week. And so I decided to leave the Orlando area, which is right where, not of impact, because that would be the Tampa side, the Gulf side. But right after that, the eye of the storm was supposed to go over Orlando and then out to the Atlantic through probably the Space Coast, possibly upwards to Daytona Beach. But that whole area was supposed to be very much impacted. And so I left early yesterday morning at about 6:15 from the airport because I had dropped off my husband for his flight. And we were so glad because he's now in China. And if he had left today, he would not have left because Orlando has closed the airport today. So everybody's taking it really seriously. The governor, so I took off at 6:15, and I'm actually on the Panhandle in Panama City Beach. And this is not in the area of, if you see those weather predictions, and they always have kind of a funnel, this is outside of the west end of where there should be impact. Maybe it'll be a little bit more windy, but it's not at all supposed to be impacted. And I drove. It was probably a 7.5-hour drive. And for about half an hour to 45 minutes, I would say, when I got onto I-75, it was a parking lot. It was definitely stop and go, traffic everywhere. And during this emergency of trying to get people evacuated, the governor removed all the tollways, the tolls for the tollways, so everybody can use them, whether or not they wanted to, no paying for tolls, no, you don't need to have a toll tag and all that. And what I thought was very interesting is they also opened up the left shoulder on the highways I was on, where they had a major left shoulder. People were allowed to drive on it. And so I tried that a few times because, it was for at least, I would say 30, 40 miles. It was very much stop and go traffic and very, very heavy. So I did try that left shoulder, and sometimes it was good. And sometimes they had those little markers, like strips on the concrete on the side, and it made a horrendous noise as you were driving over them. And so I didn't drive in that left shoulder very much, only when it was just dead stop and I saw an opportunity maybe to get a little further along. But once I got onto 10 going west, which is, like horizontally east-west, the traffic was very much less. And I got to see some of the damage from Hurricane Helene, which just came through 2 weeks ago. And it was the east side of Tallahassee through Tallahassee. And there were still lots of downed trees and broken trees, like, skinny tall ones broken in half, hanging over. And you could tell that they had cleared enough of the trees so that the highways were not blocked at all. But if you just looked over 3 to 5 feet, you saw the rest of the tree still there. So there's still a lot of cleanup work that needs to be done, but that was not hopefully immediately impactful to people. And thankfully, that area is, not in that eye of the storm or where it's not supposed to be hit. But poor Tampa and that West Coast is going to be hit again. And they had so much debris, on the road, on the sidewalks and the roads where people had been trying to clean out their homes and get rid of the trash, but they hadn't, not all of that had been picked up. So I just was watching on TV, Governor DeSantis was on there talking about how they've had crews working probably the last 4 or 5 days 24 hours a day trying to get that debris taken away so that they don't become projectiles.
Well, I can't quite imagine what you're going through because I'm not there, but I think it's an important point for all real estate professionals to consider because we've now seen in Texas recently and in Florida, and this latest hurricane, Helene, has affected so many of the southeast states that part of a real estate professional's role moving forward is going to be being prepared for these type of disasters and how to assist their clients, their colleagues, their family members in the event that something like this happens. I never thought I'd see the day where it became such commonplace that it's something that we need to put into our business plan and have a disaster preparedness document or something to communicate to assist people. But we have arrived at that day. And so just so happy to hear that you're safe, Kathy, and
Well, thank you.
with family. But
Yes.
yeah, anything else that you want to share before we get to today's episode?
Well, I think it's so true what you're saying with all the natural disasters that are happening throughout our country. In, of course, the Florida and southeastern states, the hurricanes, tornadoes, and in California, the wildfires. Right there's so much for us to be helping educate our clients and just our populations in total of how to prepare for an emergency, because it's a very anxious time. But the more that we can assist people with, even a checklist of what you might want to prepare in terms of taking with you if you're evacuating or if you're staying, what can you do to prepare for power outages and internet outages and possibly even loss of water. I think that that's really great to remind people who've been through it before, but definitely for people who it's pretty new to. They're very thankful for all that information. I know I am.
Well, there's a word to the wise. If you are a real estate professional anywhere in the US at this point, it is time for you to develop a simple emergency preparedness plan that you can share with your clients and be at that resource in their time of need. When natural disasters hit, it is speed of information that is the most critical. And so trying to scramble and put that together as a natural disaster is hitting or a couple days before, if you see it on the radar, that's not enough time. The time is now. The time to get it together and have a plan is now when there's not a natural disaster, and communicating to your clients that you are that resource in the event that a natural disaster hits. Now let's segue into today's topic. And today we are reviewing our 7 steps to powerful paychecks. We have completed the first part of the training, which is find the right relationships. That encompasses step 1, step 2, and step 3. And essentially, these are the steps that relate to prospecting. And that's the most challenging thing for so many people. And today's special guest, Kathy Huang, is going to share her words of wisdom about what she has done in her career. And she has a long-standing, very successful career. And the reason that she has such an incredible clientele, a great database of very faithful and loyal clients, is because of her discipline and her continuous follow-up. Those great rules that we teach throughout 7 steps, she follows to the T. And so, Kathy, I want to hear from you. You've been through the 7 steps program over the years. You've been with our firm for coming up here on 10 years. And you've seen the impact in your own business of following these rules. And I want to hear from you, which one of the rules or which step one, two, or three, have you found that's had the most impact in your business?
I would say for me, it all starts with step one, making, the initial contact. So the more people that you talk to about real estate, the more people who know that you're a realtor, the better your chances are of developing clients. And really, for me, one of the best things about being in the real estate industry as a realtor is actually getting to help my clients, getting to know them very well, because a lot of times you spend a great amount of time helping them look for their home, and you get to know them personally, you get to know their families, you get to be not only their real estate advisor, but sometimes also, helping them with logistics, helping them prepare their homes for sale. It's just truly an honor to do that, but it all starts with letting people know that you can help them in real estate. So I think the most important step is making the initial contacts. And now that I'm in a new market, that's really, I think, the key for me to get my Florida business going, because I've been in California and helped clients in San Diego first, and then also up in the San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area. So for me, Florida is a new market. I don't really have family there. I don't have, really a lot of friends. So for me, I'm taking it really to heart and knowing I've got to just get out there, meet more people, create connections so that I can follow up and then hopefully get the appointment, right? Because if you don't have anybody to get the appointment from, you're kind of dead in the water.
You got it. And I'm glad you brought that up because so many people are in a stage of their business, whether they're experienced or not, where referrals have really dried up and the market inventory has been a challenge. And so there is a need to get back out there and develop new relationships. And Gary Giffen is also joining us here in the studio. Gary, I want to get your 2 cents on this. We've had a lot of deep discussions as you've been with me on these initial podcasts throughout the first part of 7 steps. And we've gone deep. We've talked about the initial contact, the follow-up, the appointments. Which one stands out to you, and where do you feel that real estate professionals should be as far as their mindset and their behavioral patterns at this stage in the market cycle?
Yeah, everybody should be in initial contact, whether you're in an old Buffini person, it really doesn't matter because a lot of our clients, it doesn't matter what state you're in, they're moving from state to state trying to figure out where's the best place to live. And Kathy is an ex-California girl. Well, I wouldn't say ex. She still commutes back and forth to San Diego, San Francisco, the Bay Area, and then back to Florida, and has real estate in Texas. So, but back to the point about initial contact is you better be out and talking to people. And if you're not, you're going to dry up. Your business is going to dry up. So, and certainly we've talked in previous podcasts on where to go and where to meet people, what clubs to join, just going out to the supermarket, whatever. You should, if not have your business card with you, always be thinking about, meeting that next person. So initial contact, you better be in that right now, and better be going belly to belly with people and meeting people and getting to know people, just like Kathy is. She's in a new area. Now she's going to probably ingrain herself within that community that she's in right now, and she can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, starting fresh in any new community is a challenge, or if you're newer in the business, developing that initial database so that you have a network and you can start to draw on those referrals and build your reputation, your name. That is one of the most challenging things that we face in our business. Now, Kathy, share some of the strategies that you plan to employ there in Florida as a new agent. You're experienced, you're You have all this, wisdom that you're bringing forth from other markets, from your own investments. You know the game. You know how this game is played. And sure, there's some subtle differences state to state with contracts and laws, but for the most part, they're very similar. And you have some new challenges, right? Insurance is a big challenge in Florida, for example. What are those strategies that you plan to employ to grow your business there?
Well, I think the most important part is getting out and meeting people. So I am trying to find those clubs that I have an affinity toward doing things that I like to do, because it's easiest to develop relationships and make friends and potential clients doing something that you have a common interest in. So for me, it's dancing. I love to dance. And so, not the traditional kind of go to a nightclub or a bar or something, but because that's not what I like to do at this age. So what I have done is tried to go to line dancing, and that's typically line dancing classes, and it's actually very popular. And there's usually in these classes that I go to probably somewhere between 20 to 30 people that show up. And they're usually similar, like people come pretty often. And so little by little, meeting new people that way, sharing a common interest, and then trying to develop relationships with them. So that's one way. Another way is trying to pick the right business club to be a part of, to help out. And in all the hurricanes and all the issues that Florida has, there's plenty of ways to give back. So I would say this, second way is joining some kind of business club. The third way would be to volunteer, to help out in however you can. So that's part of my plan, is to get involved not only in my church, which is critical and very important to me, but other volunteer organizations, to be able to give back to our community and also get to know people. As I was mentioning to another colleague who moved to a new state and started fresh in the business of real estate, when you first go somewhere, and if you don't have already a big network of people that friends and family in the area, it does kind of seem like you're an island out there in a big sea. And so that's, most people like to have connection with people. So you have to go out of your way to try to develop those connections when you don't already have them.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I want to put some framework around what you just described for our listeners who have been following along through step one. We went over 4 rules, and Kathy just illustrated exercising all 4 of those rules properly. And I'm just going to give everyone a refresher real quick. So rule 1 in step 1 is master your mindset. And you can tell that she has mastered her mindset. She's made a decision that this is what she's going to do. She has set out a plan, and now it's just about execution. Number 2, rule 2, is identify your target market. And you heard her describe she has a target market. She's going to be doing line dancing. She's going to be doing some volunteering. She's going to be involved in her church. And she has the experience from a previous state and growing a successful business. She knows what works and has that advantage. But you have to ask yourself that same question. What is your target market? And then rule number 3, that's develop relationships daily. And I'm quite confident when you get involved in the church and volunteering, there's going to be a lot of volunteer opportunities with the cleanup from the hurricanes. You are going to be meeting new people every single day. So you're right on track. And then rule 4 was create memorable moments. And certainly when we meet people and we meet them, let's say at a dance studio, or the first time we met them was after the hurricane and we were working together to help clean up and being involved in the community, that imprint is going to stay with those people. That will be a memorable moment. So think about this framework that Kathy has created and adopt what you're going to do in your business if you need to grow your initial contacts. Now let's move on and discuss step 2. Kathy, you and I were just discussing this week because we've launched a real estate investment trust within our firm. And a lot of people have heard about a real estate investment trust and may not understand what it is, but it does require significant follow-up with investors to make sure that they understand what the offering is and to answer any questions and see if they are personally interested in moving forward. So within step 2, which is the follow-up, what are some of the behavioral patterns or time blocks or strategies that you use in your business in order to make sure that you're a person of your word, you're following up with people consistently, and that they hear from you in a method or a pace that's not too much, right? It's not annoying, but you're continuously staying in touch and giving them the opportunity to do business with you. How does that look in your world?
Well, for me, I am a to-do person, a to-do list person, and how I keep on top of things is everything goes into my phone calendar because, unfortunately, I am one of those people that has my phone with me 24/7, unless I'm sleeping, in a place where I can't have my phone, like at church or, some other place in a meeting with a client, then I don't have it attached to me, type thing on my hand. But otherwise, I am one of the people who likes to make myself available to my clients and family and friends. So I'm very accessible. So unfortunately, my phone is tied to me. So because of that, and I am a to-do list person, I put everything into my phone calendar. So every day, if you were to look at my day, it starts out like for the week, you'll see what I have planned for the next, month or so. As I know, I have some commitments in terms of I need to be there for this meeting or this event or this appointment with a client. They all go in my calendar. But more than that, what goes in my calendar are things that I want to do. So I need to call this client or I need to follow up with this investor. It goes in there. It has a time slot. And that's kind of my best estimate of what I'm trying to get done in the next day, weeks, and months to come. But I actually then change it to what I actually do. So if my day gets away from me, one of my appointments is longer and it was like a follow-up phone call, I will actually change that date and time to another date and time that will work, so I don't lose it. If I wasn't able to get it done today, it goes into a future date and time that I think might work.
It's very practical advice, Kathy. It's very simple, and I like the method. Now, Gary, I want to hear from you as well. Follow-up is a crucial part of what we do, as we went over in the previous episodes. I like to say the fortune is in the follow-up. And the most successful professionals that I know in this industry are masters of the follow-up. They know exactly what they're doing every single day, just like Kathy described. That follow-up is a time block within their calendar. So what do you do specifically that would help our listeners with their follow-up skills?
Yeah, follow up, just like Kathy was saying, you can either use a phone or you can use a calendar. But if you are either in a transaction or just following up with a new client, whatever it is, if you say you're going to do something, hey, I'll call you back tomorrow. I'm sorry I missed you. Well, then put it in your calendar, 10 a.m., make that phone call and follow up. If you say you're going to do it, do it. And that's what people respect. They respect that you're, maybe they don't even know you yet, but you followed up several times. You said what you were going to do and you did it. You can, and you just follow up until there's no more follow up, until the escrow is closed, or you met a new person and you followed up and maybe they stopped calling you back. Then okay, next, put them aside, make a note in your book, maybe call them back in a month or two. You don't want to, like Andrew said, you don't want to be a pest. You do want to do your job, which is to follow up and to make sure things get done in a timely manner.
Yeah, and as a recap on step 2, let's just quickly review what those rules are, because there's 2 key words that you're going to hear when it comes to the follow-up. Rule 5 is desire discipline, and that's the first key word. Follow-up requires discipline. Rule 6, communicate clearly. Rule 7, follow up fearlessly. And Rule 8, try again. And that second key word is fearlessly, because for the most part, if you're in sales, you should know how to communicate clearly, and you should not give up, and you should try and try again. But fear gets in the way, rejection gets in the way. You leave a message, they didn't call you back, you're unsure whether or not to continue to follow up, you get busy, and you forget, whatever the reason is. But following up fearlessly, knowing that you're a professional, you've spaced out your communication so that you're not annoying, and you're simply following up to be a person of your word. And you are going to get down to a decision: yes, no, or maybe. Every single thing that you're offering, whether it's a buyer, a seller, or an investor, a service, a product, it doesn't matter. You are ultimately following up to get to that yes, no, or maybe. And you can even incorporate that into your script. I just want to be clear. Are you interested in moving forward at this time? You're not? Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I'll follow up in the future. Or maybe just not quite yet. Great. I'll continue to follow up. Or yes, you're ready to go. Excellent. Let's move forward. But this pivotal step is where people get stuck. There's a lot of people that are great at breaking ice. I call them icebreakers, right? The initial contact. They can meet a lot of people. Real estate tends to draw people that are extrovert, have great personalities, are great at meeting people, but then they just completely drop the ball when it comes to follow-up. So they never get to step 3, which is the appointments, which leads to the transactions. So Kathy, as we reflect on the follow-up, any other thoughts, any other motivational tactics that you can share with the audience of how to have that discipline to continuously follow up day after day?
Well, I think in today's environment where everyone is so busy and bombarded by phone calls and emails, you have to keep top of mind. So it is so important for the follow-up, right? First, you have to have relationships to follow up on. But if you don't follow up, it's not even that your clients don't want to use you again or make a referral, but they're so busy you just aren't on the top of their mind when an opportunity comes up for either them needing additional help or a friend that's looking for a good real estate professional. So yes, follow-up is crucial. And there is that balance between being annoying by following up way too much and following up so infrequently that, it's basically not follow-up. Then it's maybe follow-up like an annual kind of thing, which is better than nothing. If that's all you can do and that's something that's really important to you, once a year is better than never. But, somewhere I would say ideally once every quarter at least, to reach out to your sphere and your past clients would be good. Maybe once a month is good if it's not, say, very active, even just like a text saying you're happy, whatever holidays coming up. It could be something so short and sweet that isn't something that's so in their face versus always trying to schedule a call with busy people once a month might be a little bit too much, so every client is different, every person is different, and you'd have to just adjust it. But any kind of follow-up is better than none, but finding that sweet spot is, really critical for your business as well as, your relationships and keeping them thriving and growing and keeping you top of mind.
Well said. And today's topic, again, we're looking at part one of the 7-step system, really just doing a recap on step 1, 2, and 3. But part one, the name of part one is Find the Right Relationships. And when I wrote that and designed that within the training, I really thought about this because we can all find relationships, but you want to find the right relationships. And that's what I want to talk about next, because we know that this initial contact and the follow up is what's going to generate your business. And I want to ask both of you, how do you filter and how do you discern the right relationships, who to let go of, who not to continue to follow up with, or on that initial contact, immediately sensing this is not somebody that I want to do business with. And that right relationship is so crucial for your well-being in this industry because, as we all know, it can be a very debilitating process if you get into an escrow or a transaction or a listing with the wrong relationship. So, of course, we all follow our state guidelines and federal rules, and you never want to discriminate against anyone. At the same token, you also aren't forced to do business with everyone. No one is holding a gun to your head saying you must do business with every human being that you meet. That's not the case. You have a choice, just like they have a choice whether or not to hire you. You have a choice whether to hire the client. So, Gary, I'll start with you. How do you make that discernment? What are the red flags when you're doing the initial contact or follow up? And what are the green flags that allow you to move forward saying, yes, this is the kind of character that I want to do business with?
Yeah, well, there's several, but I think the first one and foremost that always stands up is I've been doing this business of real estate for now 20 years. So just like a doctor or any professional, you would expect when you sit down with a client or talk to a client that they would respect what you're saying and your advice. So if I get somebody that doesn't listen to my advice and keeps talking over me and saying, no, it's got to be done this way, or no, we have to do it this way, or no, we have to do this price, or whatever it is, and won't take the advice of my 20 years, then it's probably not going to work, right? And maybe they just need somebody else to, manhandle, because you have to direct people, you have to give them guidance, and there's a reason why I've been in it for 20 years, and I'm hoping that people will listen to the wisdom that I have, and I think that's the key right there. Is if they don't listen and they want to just do the complete opposite, then it's probably not going to work. And that's okay. There's a lot of younger agents that will take any business, and that would probably best if they move to somebody like that. So not a problem. I don't, like you said, you don't have to work with everybody. And I think we'll let Kathy talk about that same question, because she's been in the business for many years, and I'd love to hear what she says.
Well, for me, I really feel that life is too short to be doing something that you don't like to do. I mean, we all have responsibilities. We all have to make a certain income in order to, feed our families, support our lifestyle. So, taking all that into account, in general, I feel that if somebody that I'm working with is not honest, that is one of the first things that would be a reason why I wouldn't want to work with them going forward, or maybe even to complete a transaction like Gary's saying, because in this business, especially if they're the seller and they're not honest about what has happened to their home, it could be a huge liability for them, but also a liability for me. So I don't ever want to be part of a transaction where someone's trying to cover something up. So I think honesty is one of the key things that I look for in a client. And the second one would be just somebody who's genuinely a kind person, because I feel like if someone has a good heart, then they will naturally treat you in a kind manner. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that just don't have that, and they're looking for ways to shortcut the system and basically win at all costs. I'm a big believer that a good transaction and a good thing in life is one where everyone wins. It can't be I win to 1,000% and you lose to 1,000%. It should be a transaction where both sides of the party, the buyer and the seller, or whatever the situation might be, feels like they've gotten value and that they wanted to do that, and they weren't strong-armed into making the deal happen. And so I think those are the two, but I'm very, very blessed to be able to choose a little bit of who I work with. And it wasn't always that way. When I first started, it really is, you kind of have to work with pretty much anyone, but I would definitely steer away from people who are dishonest, because that not only could harm all parties involved in the transaction, but in this business, your reputation means so much, and you just don't want to be pulled into a situation like that. So I'm talking to especially the new people out there, or people who are starting in a new location like I am, and really building up again from ground zero, that dishonest people really should just steer clear of them.
Those are great words of wisdom. And essentially, there's a root within your database or your clientele. And those first handful of clients, they are the root, and they will propel you forward into a network, whether you realize it or not, if they start to refer you business, of like-minded people. So be very conscious, especially if you are building a new business, as Kathy's referring to, of who those first set of clients are. And as you build and you have the ability to filter out clients and make the choice not to do business with them again, or before you get into a transaction, making the choice to choose to work with another client because you only have so many hours in the day, just continue to be conscious that whoever you do business with, once they refer people down your way, most likely those people are going to have similar character traits as the client that you did business with to begin with. Okay, well, let's transition and wrap up with step 3. So we've discussed the contact, the initial contact. We've discussed the follow-up. Now in step 3, it's the appointment. How do we inspire others to meet you? One thing is to have the great skill to meet people and the behavioral pattern to follow up consistently. But at some point, you have to ask for the order. You have to inspire others to want to meet with you, whether that's in person, over the phone, on virtual conference, to really do a deep dive and to figure out if this person is qualified in order to conduct business. So let's do a recap on the rules that we discussed in previous episodes. Rule 9 was speak truth, as Kathy just mentioned. You want to be doing business with honest people, and they want to be doing business with an honest agent. So speaking the truth at all times, regardless if the truth hurts, you have to speak the truth. It's a cornerstone in our business. Rule 10 is master your script. Whether or not you like scripts or don't like scripts, if you're going to become a top professional, you are going to have some internal scripts that always keep the conversation on track, because people love to go down rabbit holes and get off track. And you want to bring it back on track and ask for the order. So having that script, if you haven't developed it, now's the time to do that. And then overcoming objections. That was rule 11. And that's a challenge when people present those objections. Well, I'm just not ready yet. I'm uncertain. I think the market's going to go lower. I'll just wait. Having those scripts, once again, those internal scripts to come back and overcome those objections. And then finally, rule 12, becoming a magnet. So when you are doing your business in a way and your reputation is growing, you start to have a magnetic effect and people start to hear about the way that you do business. They're attracted to you, and it's usually because of word of mouth. So as we diagnose step 3, Gary, I'll start with you. When you think about that bridge from following up to naturally going into appointments, at this point, it's probably second nature for you, and you're able to get those appointments no problem. But for many people, they do struggle right here. They are following up, they're time blocking, they're prospecting, they're doing everything, but they're just not landing enough appointments that will ultimately result in presentations and then ultimately result in transactions. So, what advice can you give people that are a little gun shy, a little afraid to ask for that appointment, or scripts that you can share that make it just natural to engage people that they would be inspired to meet with them?
Yeah, so for me, it's just really asking them the question, once you've talked to them enough, you kind of find out where they are in the different steps. And usually, when somebody is hot and ready to go, making that bridge is, usually just a simple question of, okay, great, we're at this stage. Now you're ready to go here, or now we're ready to go out and look at properties. We've done all of this. We're ready to get in the car, right? You're ready to go. And it's just asking them simple questions. And wherever they are, you're going to lead them through the next step, wherever that is. So once you ask the question, they say, yes, we're ready, or yes, we're ready to invest, or yes, we're ready to buy, or yes, I'm ready to sell. Fantastic. Well, now here's the next step, and here's what we need to do. Fantastic. Let's go.
And this is why I gave this section the subtitle, Inspire Others to Meet You. Because if you simply just ask for an appointment, hey, you want to get together? People are busy. They don't have time to get together. There has to be a driving reason for them to want to get together with you. And at this stage, remember, we're not at the presentation. That's step 4, where you're going to present your service, or if you're going for a listing, you're presenting everything that you would do. If you're working with a buyer, all the services you're going to provide. That's different. That's not the appointment. The initial appointment is simply to diagnose if this person that you're considering doing business with is qualified and of the character that you want to do business with. That should be a separate appointment besides just jumping in, telling them what you're going to do for them and how they should hire you and sign the contract. That's done within the presentation. So when we talk about the appointment, this initial appointment, and inspiring busy people that have so much going on these days to meet with you, Kathy, can you share some of the strategies that you utilize to inspire others to stop their busyness to make time for you to discuss what you're offering?
Well, I think if you offer them something of value in terms of knowledge that they may be seeking, or give them I don't want to say like a tidbit, but basically give them something that they should know in order to proceed ahead with whether they're looking at buying or selling their home, but they might not. If you offer them that information, they then start to see you as somebody who's knowledgeable, who might be a really good real estate advocate for them. And I think that that's how you build your reputation with somebody who doesn't really know you yet, is to be able to figure out what their issue is or what their problem is that you could help solve, and then give them something of value in terms of knowledge. And then I think it's easy for them to see that they might like to at least consider working with you. So I guess that would be the first thing, is providing information and something of value to them in order to make that asking for an appointment, or do you want to go and see this home, like hearing what they're saying that they want in a home, and then pulling out something that would work for them, and they can see that you're a good listener. You've heard what they've said, and you can start there and see if they are a kind of client that you would want to work with. Maybe now I know things are all different, though. We at least have to get something in writing from them before you go out and show them a property, but it's the same idea, right? Is, trying to figure out if this is a good fit for both of you.
Very well said, and a wonderful place to wrap up. I'm going to read a summary that was written within our 7 Steps to Powerful Paychecks training. And this puts everything together. And so we've discussed what these 12 rules are that are encompassed in these 3 steps. And I want you to hear how they all go together. Master your mindset to develop the behavior and skills necessary to find the right relationships that will generate transactions and cash flow. Build your database by identifying your target market. Begin the initial contact. Develop relationships daily by communicating with the contacts in your database to offer them your product or service. Create memorable moments when making your first impression. Learn to convert new relationships or strangers into lifelong clients or friends. Desire discipline in your life. Be a person of your word and communicate clearly. Follow up fearlessly. And when you cannot reach someone, try again. Select the right word choices to make the appointment. Choose to speak the truth in all that you say. Master your script so your words build up others and edify the recipient. Learn to overcome objections when confronted with a difference in opinion. And become a magnet with the words that come out of your mouth. So start to apply the information that you learn through the Mastering Your BS section within our training. And that's mastering your behavior and skills. Question why you are doing what you're doing and start to master your behavior and skills. Be prayerful to ask the Holy Spirit to help you find the right relationships that will generate the right transactions to deliver you the right cash flow. Express a desire, then make good choices that lead to wise decisions. You are now ready to grasp the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom that will be required to fulfill your promises, and you're ready to move forward. So as we prepare for part 2 of this journey, the 7 steps journey, as we wrap up part 1, which is to find the right relationships, we move forward to part 2, which is to fulfill your financial promises. And there's 19 rules that make up part 2 that give you clear instructions on how to convert the relationships that you have built into successful transactions. And when conducted properly, those transactions lead to lifetime relationships. If you are struggling to generate enough business or find enough of the right relationships, it makes no sense to rush ahead to part 2. You have to conquer the rules and principles in part 1 first. In essence, all 12 rules and principles that we went over today in part 1 are a form of prospecting. So remember, throughout your journey, your goal is to master your BS. That's behavior and skills. And if you master the first 2 steps of prospecting, initial contact and consistent follow-up, which are behavioral patterns, you will have conquered the main obstacle that holds people back from achievable, explosive, long-term success. So build those behaviors and habits into your daily lifestyle. Become an irresistible magnet through inspiring others with your words, behaviors, and skills, and find the right relationships, and the right transactions will naturally fall into place. So as we wrap up, Gary, Kathy, thank you so much for your wisdom and sharing your perspective. Any final words? Gary, we'll start with you.
Well, I always keep the little book, the short version of 7 Steps to Powerful Paycheck, near my desk so I can look at it. Even though you're a professional and you've been in the business for a while, it sure doesn't hurt to go back, take a look at the contents, and if you want to have a refresher, it's nice to have that book nearby, or listen to one of our podcasts that we are continuing weekly putting up new podcasts, so you can get a bird's eye view of what these 7 steps and how they work in real estate and realtors' lives. It's great to have Kathy on. We had Mana on last week, and we're looking forward to some more of our leaders. Probably in the next few weeks, you'll hear from some different people. So very exciting, and this is great information to have with you daily.
Yeah, and the key is the application, right? We're going to provide all the information people need to be hyper successful, but ultimately each individual has to apply that information to see the transformation in their business. So, Kathy, as we wrap up here, any other thoughts or comments as we conclude?
Even as a seasoned professional, as Gary says, it never hurts to be reminded of the 7 steps and things that you can do to continue to grow your business. And I am so very thankful that we have all these training resources at AARE, so that if there's a step that I need a little refresher on, it's available to me. And I just think that it's important to surround yourself with positive people who are like-minded, and that goes with your professionals that you work with as well as your clients. So it really has been my motto that life is too short to do something that you don't enjoy. So, having the basics and the skills in place will make everything more enjoyable.
Very well said. Well, thank you both for being here, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you so much, Andrew and Gary. Always a pleasure to be with you.